Hi, friends. This is Adam Shoemaker, Rector here at St. Stephen's Episcopal Church in downtown Charleston, back for another edition of Rector's Corner. And I'm very happy to have with me today the Reverend Furman Buchanan, who is the priest at Christ Church in Mount Pleasant, one of the returning congregations of our diocese. Thank you very much, Furman, for taking the time to be with me today. I wonder if you could begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself and where you came before you arrived in Charleston.
Good. Well, thank you, Adam. I appreciate you inviting me to be part of the presentation today. And my wife Kim and I moved to Mount Pleasant in September. In fact, we moved on the evening of Sunday, September 11th, and had our first Sunday at Christ Episcopal Church on Sunday the 18th. And so we certainly had a very action-packed first 6 days in getting things up and going as we seek to rebuild this congregation in the Episcopal Church. And we moved here from Greenville, South Carolina. I had served as the priest at St. Peter's Episcopal Church in Greenville for almost 12 years. I had begun in October of 2010 there, and had a wonderful years of ministry there, and a great supportive, dynamic, outreaching, service-minded congregation. And so yes, that is, we have 3 daughters, all grown. Our youngest just graduated from Wofford College in June, but her 2 older sisters both live in Washington, D.C. and work there. So it was just Kim and I and our 17-year-old sweet dog who moved to Mount Pleasant this fall. So. And
you're a native of South Carolina, is that right?
I am. I was born and raised in Barnwell, and spent all 18 years in the same house there. Went to college at Wofford in Spartanburg, and after graduating from Wofford, had a short time with Wachovia Bank. Lived in North Carolina, both in Winston-Salem and in Charlotte, and then ultimately returned to South Carolina, where we've spent most of our adult lives, with the exception of 3 years of seminary at the School of Theology at Sewanee in Tennessee.
Well, you alluded a little bit to getting started at Christ Church, and I know it's a unique situation. I wonder if you could say just a little bit about how your early days have gone as the priest at Christ Church.
Well, I'm very pleased by the responsiveness of the congregation here. Kim and I didn't know on September 11th and 12th whether there would be 5 people or 50 people or anything in between on that first Sunday morning. And I'll have to say that what we have discovered is a beautiful mixture of folks who have been worshiping here for the last 5, 10, 15, 25 years. Other folks who at the time of the schism in sort of around 2012 decided they wanted to remain Episcopal, and so they had been meeting in living rooms and funeral home parlors and everything else, sort of in the wilderness for that decade. And other folks who joined that East Cooper Episcopal Church was the name they used, and maybe who even joined that group in more recent years, but nevertheless folks who had not worshiped here. Anyway, they have all come into this new mixture. And then the third set of folks are folks who moved to Mount Pleasant in the last several years, who see an Episcopal sign on Highway 17 and say, wow, and so they're thrilled that there's an Episcopal church in town now. And so it's kind of a mashup with this, three sort of groups, and people are really leaning in and offering to be supportive in various ministries and so forth. So we feel very good about it. And every day is still very full of challenges, as we even just get to know the campus. And on a 25 so acre campus with multiple buildings, there are always things breaking and needing attention, and so we are learning as we go, and but with lots of lay volunteer support along the way.
That does sound like a lot, but an exciting ministry that you've entered into. I wonder, you've been there 3-4 months now. What are your hopes for Christ Church as you begin to look into the coming years with them?
Well, I think one of my hopes this year will be to organize, just something as basic as a parish meeting, and electing a vestry and diocesan delegates to diocesan convention, and the usual kinds of things that are easy to sort of take for granted in a congregation that has been an ongoing concern. And so we'll be doing that this spring. I'm excited to have Bishop Woodliff Stanley make her first visitation here in the spring. And I anticipate having a very healthy class of confirmation candidates for her when she arrives in April. And then from there, just creating a healthy foundation upon which to build, and then to set about growing the mission and ministry of this congregation. I am a strong believer that the church is called to be involved in the world, and I look forward to being this congregation being known as a good neighbor in the heart of Mount Pleasant. And the thing I believe that one of the things that's important for congregations to realize is that Jesus was incredibly relevant and engaged in every part of life in the neighborhoods and the cities and villages and in the country where he lived and served in the physical way. And Christ clearly intends his church to be the same exact way. Wide open hearts, wide open arms in the wider community.
I couldn't agree more. And Christ Church is in such a wonderful location. I didn't actually quite realize what a large campus it was, but it is in a wonderful location in a really fast-growing area of our region. I think it might even be the fastest-growing area of the state of South Carolina. So it certainly is good to have an Episcopal church like Christ Church fully back with the diocese. I wonder now about how you are getting support during this time. I know there's other clergy in the diocese who are serving returning congregations. Are you all getting together? Because I know those are unique ministries in comparison to our pre-existing churches.
Yes, in fact, Bishop Woodliff Stanley has sort of called us together as a group with and brought in Bishop Duncan Gray, who is visiting from time to time, to just offer, a little support, for this sort of unique moment in time as we redevelop some of these returning congregations. And as you know, and in some respects, it's not all that different from serving as an ordained leader in an ongoing congregation, to have peers, to reach out to and share ideas and network connections with things of that sort is a really valuable gift. And so I'm particularly pleased and feel very supported by our bishop and the canon staff. I mean, Canon Andrea McKellar is handling a lot of the finances for us. And I mean, in those early weeks, literally every week, Andrea showed up to write checks and help us get those in the mail to various vendors and teachers of our day school and all the rest. And Canon Philip Linder was integrally involved in some of the challenges associating with the physical plant in those weeks during the summer as the transition was beginning to unfold here and before I arrived. And so, I mean, the staff really has been fantastic. And so of the diocesan office. Yeah. So
wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, and it makes me wonder, Furman, how we in the wider diocese can be supportive of you at Christ Church. Are there things that would come to mind about ways that we could help you as you get going with your ministry there?
Well, sure. I mean, for one thing, you could just include us in your cycle of prayer more regularly than once a year, right? And I think in some ways we're still in a very early stage of really diagnosing what the most important opportunities are for contribution here. We had different parishes loan us various items that we need in the liturgical life, including your sharing with us of holy oil to use at our first baptism on All Saints Sunday. Thank you very much. And but as we continue to kind of unfold and see what the most important needs are and how some of those might align with the generosity of other individuals and congregations in the diocese and beyond, then we won't be shy to raise our hands and offer up those ideas and suggestions for sure.
Well, that's great. Please don't. I mean, I think items that are needed, work days, on those on that large campus, I think people in the diocese would love to help. You mentioned the day school, which I know is also a remaining entity on the campus there. Could you say a little bit about the day school at Christ Church?
Well, Monday through Friday, we have 1-year-olds through 4-year-olds on campus, parents morning out, as well as the day school for the older kids. And Adam, some of the most fantastic teachers and leaders you could hope to find anywhere, many of whom have been serving in those roles for more than a decade or even 15 or 18, 19 years. A lot of dedication. I had the privilege just this morning of leading the chapel service for 3- and 4-year-olds, and there's chapel 2 days a week. We have so many classes, they're spread out across Wednesday and Thursday. So I'll be back in the chapel with them tomorrow. But it's just a great opportunity to minister to families, again, from the wider community. Most of these folks are not parishioners of this congregation, but they recognize that we offer really one of the most outstanding day school opportunities for pre-K. And as you said earlier, we're in a super convenient location. And so it's a healthy, vibrant school, a lot of activity on campus. And I get to be a little part of that, which is nice.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Can you say a little bit about how people can get more information about Christ Church? Do you have a website up and running? Is there a separate website for the school if people wanted to learn more information about that?
Yes, so the best way to go about it is you can find us at Christ Episcopal MTP. And we also have a Facebook page, Christ Episcopal Church MTP. And I hope I've not inverted those two in my mind. I should have double checked my notes right before we picked up. Yeah. One of those names was not available, and so
Sure.
so one is Christ Episcopal MTP, the other Christ Episcopal Church MTP. But you can find us on Facebook or on the web, and also navigate to the school as well.
And is the address on the web .com or .org?
Thank you. Great question. .org.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. And if you use any search engine and type in Christ Episcopal Church, Mount Pleasant, you should, we will be among the results that pop near the top.
Okay. Well, Furman, thank you so much for making the time for this brief conversation, and thank you for saying yes to joining us in ministry in the Diocese of South Carolina and at Christ Church. You certainly have our prayers, and please let us know how we can be supportive of you and the people there beyond our prayers. Really appreciate it. And I want to thank those who've been listening into this conversation. I will be back, friends, for another edition of Rector's Corner next month. In the meantime, be safe, be well, and you keep the faith. Bye-bye.
Thank you.